All right, good afternoon. It's June 18th, 2025. This is the regular meeting of Southgate Council. I'll call the meeting to order at 1:01 p.m. Please rise as you're able to sing the national anthem.
O Canada, our home and native land, true patriot love in all of us command. With glowing hearts we see thee rise, the true north strong and free. From far and wide, O Canada, we stand on guard for thee. God keep our land glorious and free. O Canada, we stand on guard for thee. O Canada, we stand on guard for thee.
Welcome, everyone, those joining us online and in our audience. As we gather, we recognize and acknowledge the traditional keepers of this land with whom we share today. The Township of Southgate is a part of the traditional territories of the Anishinaabe, Six Nations of the Grand River, Saugeen Ojibwe Nation, Haudenosaunee, and Saugeen Métis. The land that surrounds us is part of who we are as it reflects our histories. May we live in peace and friendship with all of its diverse people. Madam Clerk, do we have anyone for open forum?
Yes, we have one person registered, Carmen Leandro. You can just come up to the mic.
Welcome. I'll just remind you that open forum is 3 minutes, and we don't make any decisions. There isn't any questions or answers as part of this forum.
Okay.
Okay, go ahead. Anytime you're ready.
Good afternoon, everyone. As you know, my name is Carmen Leandro. I am a resident and owner of 7525 Ida Street. The reason I'm here, since I purchased the property, I always had flooding in coming from the dishes around the area. But 2024 and 2025 has been absolutely incredible. I actually had a river. I have pictures, I have videos. Fortunately, the videos are too large to download. I tried, I wasn't successful. I'm not very good. I did take pictures of all, and one of the problems is, I believe about now going 3 years, there is some pipes that they install. And don't ask me for south, east, west, and because I'm really terrible on those two. But the farms opposite to us, they implemented about 2 years or 3, some drainage coming into my farm to where the site my farm is. And what's happening is no one ever, since I've been there for 14 years, no one ever did any maintenance to the trenches, the ditches around. And now, because everything, I even took pictures today. You're more than welcome to pass my phone around to see the pictures. It looks like a forest. And then it dries and it goes into the ditch. And the ditches become plugged. They are totally plugged. I'll say, at one point, the water, actually, my driveway was above my knee. Okay,
Please, just want to remind you that the people online won't be able to hear you if you move away from the microphone.
Oh, I'm sorry.
That's okay.
And we couldn't, it was a hazard. It's a safety hazard. And what happened is that water accumulates in the driveway. Then during the night, it becomes ice. Okay, so we are done. We have water and we have ice. The snow, I can remove the snow. We have somebody plugging our driveway. But with the amount of ice and water, we actually, we had many, many years of damages in our cars, but not, I mean, this is a Volvo. This is absolutely a very strong car. And totally the ice, my husband actually went to, I mean, we didn't have, we're locked for the entire year, and we plug when we need to exit our driveway. This, he tried to go groceries to the grocery to purchase groceries for us to consume. And what happened was that he was fine because it was still ice when he left. When he came back, the ice broke because of the vibration. Actually, the transmission of my car was totally ruined. I mean, I'm asking now, I mean, what implementation are you going to do to maintain this as a short period of time and long term? Because this is not acceptable. Okay, I had to actually call, and I called multiple times, the Public Works, and I spoke, I believe the gentleman was John. He had to send equipment to remove snow from one of the sides of the trench for the water to start moving. But I mean, this maintenance should be yearly, should not be in the winter time that I should be calling for somebody to come with a heavy equipment to remove snow from trenches. This is getting ridiculous. And
Okay, so I'm just going to stop you. Your time is up. I'll let you finish. I'd like you to wrap it up and then I can address
okay,
it.
again, as I said, I would like this implement to know what implement is going to come to this in the short and long term. What kind of assistance are you going to compensate us? Because this is not acceptable. We could not leave our house due to this problem.
Well,
And again, I'm more than pleased to share videos and pictures of all of this. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you. And I'll just remind you that no decisions are being made today. You are in touch with Mr. Watson, who is the gentleman who you should continue to dialogue with. I do know that there is a municipal drain, number 75, that is supposed to address these, which I would imagine that you are on as part of one of the benefiting properties. You also are in SVCA regulated area, so there's a lot of wetland there. But we're not getting into a dialogue or debate. I would encourage you to continue to work with staff.
But again, I mean,
This isn't a debate, ma'am.
no.
If you wish to delegate or send your correspondence in writing, I would recommend that you do that through staff.
I did.
Okay.
I did send an email yesterday.
Yep, and we got it. So
Okay.
thank you.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you. All right. We'll now move on. We need to confirm the agenda as presented. Got to get a mover and seconder. Jason and Jim. Any changes, Madam Clerk? No? All in favor? That is carried. Declaration of pecuniary interest? Seeing no hands. Delegations and presentations, we have none today. Adoption of minutes, be it resolved that the council approve the minutes from the June 4th council and closed session meetings as presented. No mover and seconder, please. Martin and Joan. Any errors or omissions? Any discussion? All in favor? That is carried. Reports of municipal officers. 9.1.1 PL 2025-049 Bill 30 Working for Workers 7 Act. Be it resolved that staff report PL 2025-049 be received for information and that council provide staff direction on submitting comments related to Bill 30 to the province. Got to get a mover and seconder, please. Chase. You're gonna have to switch sides. Jason and Monica. Ken. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Deputy Mayor, Council. I'll keep my presentation short. This is pretty straightforward. It's yet again another bill coming forward from the province for amendments. This one's a bit unusual in that it focuses on training and skills development for workers, but deep within the text of the bill is amendments to the Planning Act that would essentially exempt any, I'm trying to remember how it's phrased, but essentially any facility that provides training and skills development from any planning approval. And then such facility would also be exempt through the Municipal Act from any municipal bylaws that would apply. So much like Bill 5, where you have an economic zone established for a particular type of development, like say a mine for critical resources. Once again, the exemption that would be very similar through Bill 5, where that development would be exempt from any planning approval and it would be exempt from any municipal bylaw, would then apply under this skills development changes. I will note that at this point, we've been monitoring the environmental registry. There's still nothing up to submit comments to the province on Bill 30, but we'll continue to monitor. Right now, Bill 30 sits at first reading has been given, and it hasn't advanced any further than that. But this may, and I'll just frame this to say, council, that I think the risk to the township is relatively low. But given how broadly a facility for skills development and training is defined, it may have some implications down the road. And I'll leave it at that. Thank you.
Thank you, Ken. And so your direction is to keep it open. Once commenting is open on the registry, you won't have to come back to council. We can just proceed, because generally they don't give you an awful lot of time.
Through you, Deputy Mayor, that's correct. And I think we would frame our comments much the same way we did with Bill 5, in that, I'll put it this way. Municipalities have to live with these developments long after they're approved through these acts. And by having no ability to have any say in them through a planning application or through the application of municipal bylaws, that creates challenges for that longevity of that use or building.
And I'm certain that the county has also got this on their radar.
Yes.
Okay. Questions from council? Martin.
So would this apply to, like, let's say Conestoga wanted to put satellite campuses in areas? Is that what you're talking about? And being able to put them in there just because it's a center, a good catch basin for people where people might not want it?
Through the Deputy Mayor to you, Councillor, in theory, yes, that's the way it's the definition in these changes is written. And so then if Conestoga was to build a new building or occupy a space within an existing building, that use would not be subject to planning approvals. It would still be subject to building approvals, which creates actually an interesting loophole, because you can't issue a building permit without confirming that it meets all the planning regulation. But I think we would have to stand on the perspective that if they're exempt, well, then off to the races they go. But yes.
Go ahead.
Yeah, just a comment from, I liked reading the part where he said the cumulative impact of all the 3 past bills. There's always something that will affect the municipality, and it's like they're hidden away in those omnibus bills. So it's good for you to pick up on that. As you say, it's clearly there. Well, I'm not going to say it, but
Well, and if I may, Deputy
you
Mayor,
may say it for me.
Oh, no, I'm not going to go down that road, but I will say that, as you may recall at the last meeting, our report for Bill 17 for comments to submit, we also submitted them to the Ontario Professional Planners Institute, because they were compiling. And certainly in my discussions with the staff at OPPI, I don't think a lot of people are recognizing the links between each one. And so when I sort of pointed that out, there was a light bulb moment, I think, with OPPI in how they are framing their comments too. So yes, I agree. I think it's what's the phrase? With each link, a chain is formed. So
I like that. Anyway, that's it. Thank you,
Okay,
Ken.
any other
Thank you.
questions? I'll call the question. All in favor? That is carried. Next is 9.1.2 PL 2025-050 zoning bylaw C325 and OPA 1-25 West Side Manufacturing Inc. Do I have to read the entire resolution? It's up on the screen. Awesome. And would this be Victoria?
Yeah,
Go
that'll
ahead.
be me this afternoon. Good
There you
afternoon,
go.
everybody.
Oh, sorry. Oh, I need a mover and seconder to put it on the floor. Martin and Jason. Go
Okay,
ahead.
I'll jump in. So the applicant through Westside Manufacturing, they have an existing OFDU. They're requesting an increase, whereas the zoned area would not increase. It's applying specifically to an increase to what they have an outfeed stacker on site. So it would be about 205 square meters and it would be roofed as well, so a covered structure. So this would increase the overall maximum. We allow about 750 square meters in OFDUs, so this would increase by 205 square meters, put them about 955 square meters overall. And then their outside storage area would also increase from about 500 square meters to 820 square meters as well. So they're permitted under the current zoning about 1,250 square meters. They're asking for about 1,775 square meters. And again, it's within the existing zoned area, which permits 8,000 square meters for that area. Again, it was zoned back in 2022 under A1525 for the 750 and 500 square meter for the workshop and the outdoor storage area. Whereas now the existing buffer, the farmhouse shed setbacks for that zone, nothing within that zone would change, just increasing the building footprint and some outdoor storage. They have about 37 hectares of tillable land. It's about 72.5 hectares. Again, it's something that would remain secondary to the principal agricultural use of the lands as well. And they're still remaining about 300 meters from the nearest residents as well. Comments from staff are on page 5. Just to note, Grey County had something regarding an exemption from the forestry management bylaw if there's any impacts to nearby trees, but they've also waived the need for an EIS. Planning staff have no concerns as well. The county planning staff note that they're permitted 1,600 square meters for their building footprint, which is 20% of the total area, so it complies with the county OP. Comments received from SVCA, Public Works, Township Public Works, Historic Saugeen Métis, and Bridge Gas. Nobody had any concerns at this time. So overall, staff at this point are recommending to endorse the official plan. It'll be number 8 to the township official plan to change the maximum 750 square meters floor to permit 955 square meters. And then also consider approval for the zoning change to allow the additional 202 square meters floor area to cover the outfeed stacker on site as well. And again, the outside storage area, they want to increase from 500 square meters to 820 square meters. So we have some recommendations as well that we've included in the report, including that the additional floor area would permit covering machinery and equipment, but will not be enclosed. Again, it would just be roofed, the outfeed stacker. All increases to the total gross floor area and outdoor storage would occur within the existing A1525 zoned area, so that would not increase to preserve any active agricultural lands, this 37 hectares that they're currently farming, and ensure that there's no impacts to any other environmental areas or sensitive uses. They also have some buffering on site as well, so we're including that they keep the buffering and integrate it into the surrounding use. Again, following D6 guidelines, which is common for these OFDUs, there's still 300 meters separation from the nearest residents. They have buffering and screening and some elevation that helps with the overall site design. And again, these uses help with the economic base and employment within the agricultural community. They're quite important, which is compliant with the PPS 2024 and then the guidelines for Ontario's prime agricultural areas. Happy to take any questions.
Go ahead, John.
Sorry.
Good afternoon. Good afternoon, Victoria. I know you're asking for an exception or exemption, and I think this is the second one that we are doing, an exemption to make something bigger.
Yeah.
And I remember when Deputy Mayor Dabrin said previously, we'll be opening up Pandora's box for all these exception and these exemption that will be coming in. And here we go. This is the second one. I'm just thinking like with the extension, they will be getting increase in business, as you said, and more employment. So of course, we'll be getting increase in traffic too.
So,
Maybe.
sorry, through you, there was some language included in the planning justification report that was submitted for this file. There would be no change to traffic or hours or anything for the existing West Side manufacturing. So I'm just saying that it supplements their income and employment in the area. It helps support the agricultural community, but it wouldn't change any hours or employees or anything like that on site.
Well, they're making the space bigger, so they will be increasing their whatever farming or job or whatever it is that they're doing, correct? So they might need more trucking to move the goods. I'm just thinking, are the roads built and ready for the increase in traffic? And it's going to cost the township for repair when that comes along? Just a thought.
Yeah, through you, I know Public Works does assess that, the road and whatnot, if it can maintain that. But yeah, besides what I understand from the planning justification report and from the application is that there would not be any increase to traffic and or to trucks coming in and off the site or any employment, no increase in parking as well for the site. They're just simply trying to accommodate outside storage is a big factor, and the outside outfeed stacker specifically, just trying to protect it from elements too. Previously, I know that they had some issues with weathering, so that was just included in the building footprint. That's a big reason for this exception.
Any other questions? Martin?
So Victoria, it's not just for my own getting into my head. They're asking for a little for changing the plan, but is it still under like the 20% they're allowed of the actual farm? Is it still under that?
Yeah, through you, just to clarify, yeah. So the county comments, they kind of included that information where they permit the 20% maximum. So it's 1,600 square meters for building footprint. And then our official plan is a little bit more specific, whereas we say 20% or to a maximum of 750 square meters for building footprint. So that's where you kind of I guess, can see that change is we only permit the 750 square meters. So they're asking for an additional 205 square meters to cover the outfeed stacker. So it's a bit of a situation when that's considered a structure when you're covering something. So then we have to accommodate that additional building footprint. So they already have the 750 square meter workshop, but then technically the outfeed stacker is now a building because it's being covered.
Okay.
I don't know if that helps.
And then there's a storage aspect of it too.
Yeah, the additional.
So
they're
it really
asking-
doesn't go anything past.
No,
county.
it just past our 750
Just
square
per-
meters, yeah.
Okay, thank you.
And past the 1,600 square meters, which is 20% for building footprint specifically, but that's where it's 955 square meters for total building footprint, and then an additional 820 square meters for the storage. So the storage is not included in the building footprint
Ah,
aspect.
okay. And it's not going to take away any more farmland
No,
because
nope.
it's in that.
Yep,
yeah.
it's still in that zoned area. Yep.
Any other questions? The total land permitted to be removed from agriculture is 2% though, right? Still 2%?
Yeah, that's correct.
And because this is greater than 40 hectares, it's greater than two acres, or it's still staying within the 8,000 square meters,
Yep, correct. Yep.
which is the 2%.
Yeah, correct.
All right, well, seeing no further questions, I'll call the question. All those in favor? Opposed, if any? That's carried. We have PL 2025-051 zoning bylaw C9-25. Willard Martin, Mark Fry. And the report is on the screen. Thank you, Lindsay. Yeah. Time mover and seconder, please. Martin and Jim. Victoria again.
Yeah, sorry,
ahead.
that's me. Okay, so this is a zoning file to implement the consent file B225 that was approved by committee on May 28th. It's a Mennonite schoolhouse severance, or a surplus farm dwelling severance is kind of how staff looked at it. So it's creating a 0.97 hectare lot containing the school, the parking, trees, accessory buildings, and then the 33.6 hectare farm parcel. So staff looked at it as a kind of surplus farm dwelling severance from a policy perspective. It's currently zoned A1 exception 397, and we'd like to rezone it to, or proposing to rezone it to community facility exception 584. As well, the retained parcel would be agricultural 2 exception 583, and we're also suggesting or recommending prohibiting future residential development as well. The proposed rezoning would also address any lot area frontage or other deficiencies identified. Comments received are on page 4 as well of staff's report. As we saw within the consent file, Six Nations of the Grand River request that a minimum stage 1 archaeology assessment be conducted and then a report submitted for the review. We did mention as well within the report that this request was included as a condition for the approved consent file. Grey County staff also indicated that they're unable to support the related consent application and as well the rezoning regarding the site-specific zoning on the retained parcel to prohibit residential development. County staff recommend that a more appropriate zoning be applied to the retained lands within the settlement area boundary, such as a deferred development zone or similar. So staff are recommending the rezoning as presented based on the following, including recognizing the undersized existing lot, the retained parcel, which is 33.6 hectares, and then prohibiting future residential development as well under A253. As well establishing to allow provisions for the 0.97 hectare lot for the existing school under CF 584. And as well, implementing the county OP restrictions for the Holstein Secondary Settlement Section 3.6.1. This is why we chose to, are recommending to prohibit future residential development. Their section in the OP states that there are studies that would be provided before any development can occur. So that includes the need for water or sewage, or if it's within any environmentally sensitive areas. So as well, staff include guidelines for uses in private agricultural areas as well that allow institutional uses for horse and buggy community, which is important within Southgate. And then they should be outside, especially crop areas where there are no adverse impact on agriculture as well. The proposed also implements policies in the township official plan to allow schools for the horse and buggy community in the agricultural designation. As well, the lot fabric is quite characteristic of the lot configuration along County Road 109, Southgate Road 12, and Side Road 41. As well, there's no adverse impacts to the EP zone or agricultural operations on site. So at this point, staff are recommending to the proposed rezoning has regard to provincial interest, the Planning Act, consistent with the PBS and complies with the official plan policies. Happy to take any questions.
Thank you, Victoria. Are there any questions? Seeing no questions, I'll call the question. All in favor? That is carried. Well done. PL 2025-052 official plan amendment alternate notice options. Be it resolved that staff report PL 2025-052 be received for information and that council directs staff to bring forward the recommended amendments through the planning process as resourcing allows. Mover and seconder? Joan and Jim? Ken, go ahead.
Thank you. Thought we'd bounce some of the reports around for today, so for some variety. Thank you, Deputy Mayor. This report yet again is pretty straightforward. We've been seeking some direction from council to start doing some process improvement work in the official plan to set us up for the future. Yet again, another section of the Planning Act that we haven't activated is this alternative notice section. As council is well aware, Canada Post has had some labor issues, but one of the other major issues that's affecting communities across Canada is the consolidation of local media. We are fortunate in that we have two newspapers here that basically cover both sides of the township, but that could change in an instant, and Canada Post's labor situation could also change. And so now is pretty much a good time to start diving into the Planning Act and looking at these alternative notices. It's not necessarily about moving away from our local newspapers, so this will likely not change the fact that we'll continue to use the local media, but it does open up the opportunity to look at some other options as we do engagement on certain files and applications that could actually make the process a little bit easier. For example, if we're doing an official plan amendment on a very specific issue where we know that there's only a small number of questions that likely are going to come up, we may be able, through alternative notice, to use something like SurveyMonkey to ask those questions to the public and obtain that feedback. And then that may exempt us from the requirement of a public meeting because we did it through a SurveyMonkey instead. So it's really looking at those options, and that's what we're seeking direction to do. And I'm happy to take any questions.
Great, thank you, Ken. Are there any questions from council? Joan, and then Martin.
Martin, go ahead. Thank you. Afternoon again, Ken. It's good to know that we're looking at other options, so everybody will be informed should Canada Post or something. But you said likely not change for the local newspaper. A lot of people rely on the Herald, and I hope it's not likely not change, but it's not going to be changed, and we will continue to use the local newspaper, because you'll be surprised to know the amount of people in the township of Southgate that truly depend on the Herald for almost everything. They use nothing else. Thank you.
Well, and through the deputy mayor, it's not my intention to suggest that we do. I think what this does is it gives us some additional avenues to supplement that. Because, for instance, using the example I just gave, where if we were to use SurveyMonkey to kind of not require a public meeting, if we had that set up in our official plan policy to do, well, one of the ways we'd probably get the word out is by putting an ad in the newspaper to say, hey, we're looking for your feedback. Please go to the township's website or stop by the office and fill out the paper first. So.
Thank you.
Martin.
Yeah, I was going to talk about the SurveyMonkey. Do you think that would be a good way, or would the numbers actually be representative? Because being a survey or a poll, they're not always, what's the word?
They're not always local, perhaps.
Well, maybe not that, but it's maybe not a good representation of the people. That's that you want the answers from.
Yeah, through the deputy mayor to you, councillor, that's one example that I could think of off the top of my head. This is really about giving us options. Because under the current, I'll call it formula that's established under the Planning Act, we don't really have a lot of room to maneuver. And my biggest concern is what happens if Canada Post goes on strike, or worse, given their financial situation, they may run into difficulty even going forward. So this is about establishing a whole wide array of options for us to be able to use.
Go ahead, Martin.
Yep. And so on those options, you just mentioned the provincial act, they would be allowable because they're setting up the system. So there would be no problem with them saying you can't do that.
Yeah, so through you, Deputy Mayor, the way that the Planning Act is written is if you don't have alternative options in your official plan, then there's requirements within the Planning Act based on certain types of applications, and it sets out an equation of certain options. Usually, more often than not, it's post a notice on the site as a sign, put an ad in the newspaper, and or do mail outs. What this would do, once you've established that policy, the Planning Act says that once you've established that policy, it's up to you as a municipality to make that decision on what and when you do use these alternative methods. But if you've used them for certain types of things like an official plan amendment, they take precedence over the baseline established in the act.
Any other questions? Jason?
Yeah, it sounds like the more options you have is the better. I'm just wondering, the example you use, Ken, how would we determine, maybe it's a big issue out here and not in Dundalk. How would we determine specific cases?
Through your worship, I think we're gonna figure that out as we formulate this policy. The big hurdle right now is to just figure out how to write the policy to give us that option. If I had to take an educated guess, my feeling would be that if we're going to use those alternative options and it was a situation like we weren't sure the level of concern on an issue, we would bring a report to council and get direction.
So just to clarify, my understanding is that this is the first step of it exploring additional options that will supplement what we're already doing. That it's not intended to eliminate, other than being prepared in case they're eliminated for us. Okay. So if there are any other questions from council? All in favor? That is carried. Public Works, PW 2025-021, bulk waste cleanup. Be it resolved that staff report PW 2025-021 be received for information and that council direct staff to carry out the preferred option as presented. Mover and seconder, please. Martin and Joan.
I'll second.
Oh, I'll get you on the next time. Monica, thanks. And John Watson, welcome. Oh, is John there? Looks like he might be
That's
frozen.
my internet to freeze.
There you go.
Can you hear me?
We can hear you.
There you go. There we go. Yeah, we're just basically looking for some guidance here. There's growing amounts of bulk waste in some of the subdivisions in Dundalk, being mattresses and couches. Currently, we don't provide any service for picking it up. It's on the resident. And our current bylaw for property standards states that we have to have a formal complaint before we can go out and issue a fine for the material left on the boulevard. And we're just looking guidance on how we want to move forward with that to clean the stuff up.
Well, thank you, John. Your report was very thorough. Are there any questions from council? Martin?
Afternoon, John. I figured it'd be all the mattresses and stuff like that, and God knows what else. Would a 1 day every 3 months be feasible to pick it up instead of, like we have the hazard for the paint, we don't have to go to Owen Sound once a year with all our hazardous materials. Would that be a way around it, to tell the residents to hold on to it? And
so I'm sorry, are you suggesting that we pick it up every 3 months, or because they can now, the way it is, they can take it to the transfer stations and get rid of it there?
well, I know they can, but they obviously sound like they're not, so.
Yeah.
That's just might be another option, but it depends
So as
on.
far as like just implementing, we go around it once every 3 months to pick it up, is that what you're?
Just have it, just make a day like other people do for hazardous paint and oil, and there's always a day, couple of days a year where they go up to Owen Sound for that
Yeah.
kind of material.
It's like that's kind of what.
I agree with you. They should take it to the dump themselves. You see it down the country lanes with a mattress or tires. Well, they took it that far. Why couldn't you drive 5 more miles to the dump, for goodness sake? So anyway, thank you.
likely the people who are dumping the mattresses on the way to the transfer station are not residents of Southgate. And we have our own hazardous waste called the has-been at our transfer station, so we don't have to go to Owen Sound. And they're open every day. They alternate quarterly at each location. And then I guess in John's report, it indicates that is a possibility, but then who pays for that? Is that area rated to Dundalk residents? Is it charged back to the residents who actually participate? Yeah, so that's what we're exploring here now. So I have Joan and then Monica.
Thank you. Thank you, John, for the report. I'm happy to see this come in because I live in the new subdivision and I've gone to numerous doors to ring their bells or to leave a note that we don't pick these up. The township does not pick it up. And the comment I get is, I get it picked up in Brampton. I said, well, this is not Brampton or Mississauga or the GTA. So I'm really happy to see this. I think that we should, oh, we'll get to that, but I do talk about the transfer station. And we do have a few people in the area that actually advertise to pick up the stuff and take it to the transfer station for a small charge. And I think that they could make use of that if transportation is a problem. But yes, I am really happy to see this, and I hope we can come to a very good decision to make this work and to stop seeing that eyesore on the boulevard. Thank you.
Thank you. Monica, welcome.
Hi, thank you. Good afternoon, everybody. And just for you, Chair, I appreciate the staff report and fully recognize the pressure on the roads and boulevards when bulk items pile up. And I too will live in the new subdivision. And there have been various reasons why I have learned and found out why these things are happening. I remember a few years ago when I first started council that I did, suggest or ask for some information about how things would progress. And I do see that some of the comments and things I said back then is coming to pass now. So I too really appreciate the report and would like to just offer my thoughts about a possible hybrid approach, just like Councillor Shipton was mentioning. If it would be possible to schedule a couple of free township-wide cleanup days to encourage compliance and community participation, while possibly keeping a user-based system for the rest of the year, so that, again, people who, for whatever reason, are unable to go, whether medical issues, they don't have a vehicle, funding problem, whatever the issues are, they don't have someone who can lift it up, take it for them, whatever the reason is, they can save up for some of those cleanup days, and then the rest would possibly be a user-pay system. Also, it'd be, I think, important to possibly introduce like amnesty or support option for those who genuinely can't afford the service, especially in rural areas where tight housing clusters. This isn't just like a waste issue, but it's a livability issue. So I know that cost is always a question for different things, but I think for livability in terms of hard services like waste and water, roads, those are more like necessities. So yeah, I think that if we were to pair this with enforcement and empathy and just make it clear that we are council that listens and leads and lifts up and wants to make sure that we offer deserve to our residents clean and safe streets, but also the support in tough times. So I'm not sure if that would ever be an approach to have some kind of a hybrid approach.
Thank you. John, did you want to respond?
So yeah, I totally understand where you're coming from there, Monica. My concern, if we did something like that, where we did a cleanup every 3 months and came around and did it for free, that would deter people that currently take stuff to the landfill and pay to get rid of it. Then they would potentially hold on to it to just turn around and get it for free. So I'm not sure where the tipping point on that would be, where
Yeah, you froze up, John. maybe turn your video off and just use your audio, maybe? You're back.
Oh, sorry, did you hear that at all?
No, we didn't hear
No,
that
okay.
part from tipping fee. We thought that was clever.
Yeah, no, just a matter of not sure where the tipping point would be of, people that are currently using the proper system and taking them to the transfer stations and paying to get rid of it. If we were going to offer it for free so many times a year, then that's potentially lost revenue for us then as well.
Okay.
Okay,
Monica,
follow-up?
did you want to follow up?
Yes, thank you, Deputy Mayor. Thank you, John. Absolutely. I completely understand.
We can't hear you,
I
Monica.
guess, oh, so sorry. Oh my goodness. Can you hear me now?
That's better. Yeah, that's better.
Sorry about that. Yes, absolutely. Thank you, John. I completely understand what you're saying, and I guess one of the things I can already kind of hear chirping in my ear about is that, it's not really a free service, it's taxpayers and things like that. So, we get into that whole thing, but um, maybe not every quarter, maybe even 2 times a year, maybe a pilot project. I think that the waste services is very robust. And with all the growth and things that are happening, there's definitely area for different considerations and improvement um, that could be looked at. I hope so. Yeah, definitely. If I guess I'll just leave my thoughts on that there, and if there was any possibility to have, because I see there's 4 options, I believe, and I'm kind of more looking for something that might be more of a hybrid that would include both, where we can still continue to collect fees, but also offer those people who are not actually able to afford, and then also put a user pay service in. So that's why I'm saying it's a little bit more robust and dynamic, where you might have to approach. But thank you. Those are just my thoughts now.
So I have several people. I just want to go back to the staff report in that right now it's on a complaint base. And we have experienced a couch going through the blower that we hired and paid extra money for to remove snow. So we know it can go through. It's not what we want. And Hannah's here, so I'm sure she's going to want to speak to bylaw enforcement, but bulk waste on a boulevard is also littering, so they could be fined. They could receive a fine. They could be charged for the cleanup. I guess the question of the staff report is, where do we want to start? And do we want to change our property standards bylaw to allow for our waste management team who are out there every week to notice these things and report them to Hannah so that the process could be started? So maybe Hannah, you can speak with an example. You put a notice on the property door, you give them 14 days as outlined in the staff report. And then from there, they would be charged to have it cleaned up. I think the cost of hiring someone or finding someone who has a truck is a lot less on the homeowner than for us to do it for them. But that's the other aspect of it. So either the taxpayer across Southgate is going to be on the hook to pick up waste or have waste cleaned up for other people. As you say, John, it may be that why should I take it to the transfer station, if they're going to pick it up? And why should I pay for it? We've been doing it. It has worked very well for 20 years. So there's a lot in your report, a lot of great examples and suggestions. So we'll go to Jason, Joan, and then Jim.
Yeah, I guess it's more of a comment. I agree with John. I like the option number 2. Next year at budget time, these same people will be saying their taxes are too high. It costs a lot of money for 2 or 3 guys in a truck to drive around. And how do you design a route like that? Where it's a couch here, a couch there. Are you going to drive to Varney to pick up a chair? And then it gets, I don't know. It's just, it comes down to a bit of pride of ownership. And I guess there's renters too, but we can only do so much for people. We've got a good waste system. There's a transfer facility right there. I know it's up the road. Get a little red wagon and pull the couch up there if you have to. So it's, I'm option 2, find them and give them 14 days and then get somebody in and get it out.
And now we have Joan. Oh, Jim.
John, how hard would it be to use the trucks we currently have to pick up like a couch or that? I know you don't have near the capacity for dumping it in with the arm there, and it's not like a back loader. So is there any capacity to use or no?
No, they'd get just jammed up in there trying to get them dumped into the compartment there to get back in there. So yeah, I really couldn't see them getting used for that.
Okay, thanks.
Jim Ellis, our CAO, wants to chime in here.
Good afternoon, good people. Yeah, just commenting on Jim's there. Yeah, I can see a lot of damage happening to the truck itself, the arm. We'd be constantly repairing it because it's built to pick up carts, not different size pieces and squish or whatever. So I see that very damaging, but a lot of good points have been brought up previously here. But the one thing, for 20 plus years, we've been a no-touch system, right? And from other research and waste management workshops or whatever, municipally wide or publicly wide, waste collection is one of the highest risks for injuries, workplace incidents. So we're now putting our staff at some level of risk, depending on the truck too. If you don't have something low enough, you're lifting higher and whatever. And yeah, we have pickups and that's what we do. But now we're having staff do that on a daily basis for, even if it's a short period of time, but that's not something they're generally doing every day. So we're putting staff at a higher level of risk of putting ourselves in that predicament of injury. So,
thank you. Jason?
I don't know if John or Jim, maybe do we have any idea ballpark what a truck and 2 or 3 guys would cost per hour to do something like this? It's just a question. I don't.
Like for a 1-ton, you mean, Jason, or?
Well, anything. I mean, you still got a truck running. You still got guys out there. Just cost per hour on the equipment and a couple of guys.
Probably be 2 guys in a 1-ton. You'd be 150 anyways, probably an hour. Just ballpark.
Yeah.
Jim Ellis.
yeah, and you could look at our fees and charges. We do have some manpower and equipment rental rate there. Not specific to this, but again, if you're using a 1-ton, you can't throw some of that stuff that high, depending on the weight or whatever. Then you got the tractor involved or whatever else piece of equipment. So it's just going to keep escalating that cost. You're going to be, $2,400 a day or something going around. And like Jason said, you don't know where your pickups are unless somebody's going ahead and mapping this out. But you're driving from point A to point B and D, and you're all over the map. So I don't see the logistics. It's different than some other programs that are out there, maybe in some areas. But for our size of township and where we've got to get to, I think there's a lot of complications to it.
Okay, I have Jim and then Monica.
So is it mainly that they're putting the stuff out in front of their house, or are they putting it into different spots, like down a kind of street that's not been finished yet? Is that an issue, or is it mainly in front of their own houses?
I believe it's in front of their own homes, but sometimes it's
boulevard.
spewing out onto the street, which becomes a safety hazard as well.
It's in
Yeah,
the
no,
right.
this is more for people that put it on the boulevard out in front of their houses.
So yeah, I'd be with Jason, like the plan where we give a warning maybe, and then to fine, and then have a contractor pick it up possibly.
Okay, Monica?
Hi, thank you again. just a quick point of privilege. I would need to be logging off shortly. So when you see me come off, that's the reason I sent the email already.
I'm
as in-
sorry, Monica, I'm going to interrupt you. We're having trouble. It's not
Sorry.
coming through clearly.
Is this better?
Yes,
Or-
thank you.
So sorry about that. I just wanted to mention I'm going to be coming off in a few minutes. I sent a communication earlier today, so that was just a point of privilege for that. But with regards to just my last comment, I do agree. Option 2 is the strongest deterrent and recovers costs and also maintains the streetscape cleanliness as well as enforced by law. So I do want to state that I'm just wondering if there was any possibility to possibly combine option 4 a bit, user pay curbside collection. I don't know how that would look, if that would look once or twice a year as well, just to have the option and to help cover our costs. If people would like to pay, have it, pay from their pocket to have that service done. That was, that would just be proactive enforcement for sustained success, what the staff are trying to help accomplish for our residents. So yeah, option 2, I do agree as it stands is the strongest one. Just wondering if there would be a better, solution focused or long term to consider a user pay curbside collection as well. And excuse me if when I log off if someone's talking at that time, but thank you.
Well, thanks for joining us. I'm going to ask Hannah to she every so often takes her microphone off. And before I go to Martin, is there an opportunity, Hannah? So first things first is we'd have to adjust the property standards bylaw to allow for staff to notify you. That would be step 1. And is there an opportunity for a graduated system where you give them a warning, they're given time to hire someone to take it to the transfer station? If they don't clear it up off the boulevard, I think this is your outline, John, you would remove it at their expense. It would go on the tax roll. And then would there be an opportunity to then, for repeated occurrences, the implementation of a fine, so that there would be a graduated penalty system or removal system? Hannah, how would you see this roll out?
Can you hear me, everybody?
Yes.
Yes?
Yes.
Okay, so there definitely is an option to do a graduated approach in terms of escalating with fines and things like that. So there's no reason it couldn't start with a simple notice to the property owner, advising them that the waste has to be removed and give them a certain amount of time. And then if the waste isn't removed, issue a fine and advise them if it isn't removed after the fine, give them a date. Then the township will come and remove the waste at the owner's expense with the cost added onto the tax roll. So it could be done the same way that I deal with complaints right now. The people are given an opportunity to correct the situation with an order or a notice. And then if it's not corrected by that date, then further fines apply.
I see you, Joan. Thank you, Hannah. I had Martin and then Joan.
Yeah, I was looking at number 1 and 2, and Barb, you kind of took my comment question away, and Hannah, talking about graduated. It's obviously the problem's not going to go away, obviously. So 14 days to clean it up. After that 14 days, then they get a fine. So it is the graduated principle, and good discussion around it and around the whole problem. But I think thinking about it, listening to everybody, like the township has done great for the last 20 years, and the bulk materials. Jim, don't we have a new container just for mattresses at the transfer station? So I think the township's doing the best we can no matter what. And I like Jason's comment, get a trailer, God knows I've gone to the dump many times with riding a lawnmower with a trailer behind it. And I know where they come from. They come from the other side of town. So there's ways and means, but the graduated one is a good idea, Hannah.
Joan.
Thank you. Hannah, given the fact that some of the people that are living in the homes are renters, and I'm thinking if a letter to the landlord and the landlord could talk to their tenant instead of everything going on their tax roll, because it's going back to the owners, even though it's their house and they're supposed to be in charge of their tenants. But is there a possibility that the tenants themselves could also get a copy of that so they know that? Or when the letter is sent out, you could send one to the occupants so that they can at least probably open that mail too? Just thinking, because there are a lot of renters.
I'm going to go ahead, Hannah, and then I'll go to Lindsay.
Yes, the tenants who are in the properties could definitely be notified of the concern with the waste, whether that was in correspondence through writing a letter or attending in person and leaving a business card and speaking to them directly. But the tenants could definitely be advised of the situation as well.
Thank you.
Green.
Through you, Deputy Mayor. I was just going to add to that. Sometimes it's harder for the township to contact the tenants directly because all we have on file is property owner information. So it would have to be door knocking and that sort of thing, but it's just a little bit more difficult to get the mail out to the tenants.
Thank you.
Thank you. I'm just wondering on that line of if you have to go out and take pictures of the day of, Hannah, let's say the waste pickup notifies you that there's a couch and a mattress at a certain address. You go out, you are taking evidence pictures, and I've seen stop work orders put on like Post-its almost on, or tape them to the doors or insert them in the door as opposed to just a business card, like an actual form. Is that something, or a letter to the tenant, but then it would also have to go to the registered landowner? Would it be both to ensure that the tenant is also aware, but the landlord who may not be physically present is also aware? Because ultimately, isn't it their responsibility, the landowner, the homeowner?
Yes, ultimately, even if the property is rented out to tenants, it is ultimately the homeowner's responsibility, who legally owns the property, to keep it maintained. Even if it isn't their items on the curbside, it still falls on them to maintain the property.
Thank you. And I also note in your financial and resource implications, John, you estimate that a rental of a rear packer collection truck is $10,500 per month, and you have to rent it for a minimum term of 1 month, and then you'd have to staff it. So it's not $350 to go pick up, somebody's couch or a mattress. So, Jason, you want to sum it up?
Well, no, I still like number 2 option with the fine right off the bat. By the time Hannah goes out there, we've already got extra costs already involved into this. So I think, if you can afford a new couch, you can probably afford pay. There's lots of guys around with $20. You can take it down in the back of the truck. So hit them with the fine right off the bat, I think, is the only way you're going to stop it, because we've already got that money tied up in Hannah going there and doing this. It's just it'd be endless, I think.
So the requirement, I believe right now, Hannah, is that you have to give them a certain amount of time to clear it, to notify them and educate them that they have to take it physically themselves. And then there would be, as Jason is suggesting, a fine. And then if they still don't clear it after a certain period of time, then we would remove it and put the cost on the tax roll. Is that what I'm hearing?
Correct, yes. So right now with the way the property standards works, the process I have to follow is I do have to provide 14 days to the property owner to come into compliance at a minimum. So they do have to have minimum 14 days before any further action can be taken with regards to removing the waste or going any further if they're not complying. But a fine can be issued at any point. So the Part 1 fine can be issued at any point. I don't have to wait 14 days to issue a fine, but I do have to provide them 14 days to correct the concern. If it's going to be, for example, in this scenario, the township going in and removing the waste.
Okay, thank you. Are there any other questions? Lindsay, what do you need today? Or John? We've had great discussion. I think the conversation has been, you give them the notice, whomever that is. They have 14 days to clear it up. If they don't clear it up, you issue the fine. If they still don't clear it up after a certain period of time, this is about giving direction to establish the changes required to the property standards bylaw, as well as direction to implement, right? And would it come back to council with the final recommendation or just proceed?
Yeah, through you, Deputy Mayor. So John and Hannah need direction today of one of the options. So it sounds like it's option 2, which would, I mean, we can amend that a little bit because I think I'm hearing we want to send a letter first, then do the fine. And then if that doesn't work, then we hire the third party contractor and bill it back. So they would just need the direction right now to proceed with option 2 as amended, however I can word that. But as far as the bylaw, I don't believe in that case, the property standards bylaw would need to be amended, right, Hannah?
So to Lindsay, section 65 of the property standards bylaw, A specifically, it does specify that an officer shall investigate the alleged offense upon receipt of a written and signed complaint.
Okay, right. So yeah, so we would just do another clause that directs staff to amend the bylaw and bring that back for further consideration. Yeah.
So what I'm hearing, and while you're doing your word magic, that it's a combination basically of 1 and 2, whereby and through the change in the property standards bylaw, anyone who observes it, including staff, could initiate the process, but that the homeowner will get issued a notice, will have 14 days to clean it up, at which point you're suggesting, Jason, that the fine be imposed right then. And then if they still don't clean it up, we clean it up at their expense. Is that the order that you're thinking, Jason? Go ahead.
Well, I kind of read by number 2 that as soon as there's a complaint, it'd be a fine. That's what I would like to see. And it was just, when we were talking, having discussion, I was thinking, so you have to give them 14 days after the first contact. So could we hit them with the fine the first day to scare them and say, okay, if you clean it up in the 14 days, maybe, $175 or something. I don't know. Is that too complicated? I think you got to hit it. I thought number 2 was hitting them with the way it reads to me, we're hitting them with the fine the first day.
There's a number of bylaws here that are at play, fees and charges and go ahead, Lindsay.
Yeah.
And Joan, I'll get to you.
That would be a set fine through the set fine schedule. So, it's a combination of options 1 and 2, because you're correct, Councillor Rice. Option 2 does say to hit them with the fine up front. But as we discussed, I think it's important to provide education first. Like this is something new. So I think what we discussed, doing a combination of options 1 and 2, we'd provide that communication and education first, give them the timeline. If they don't, then fine them. And then at least we've provided that level of education. So the way I've worded it right now is that we would direct staff to proceed with a combination of options 1 and 2 as outlined in the report, and that council add a third clause to direct staff to make the necessary amendments to the property standards bylaw and bring back to council for consideration at a future meeting.
Okay, that's okay. I have Joan, Jim, and then Martin. And if I could just ask, Councillor Singh Soares, are you still with us? I didn't think so. Okay, I can note that. So yeah, Joan and then Jim and then Martin.
Thank you, but Lindsay kind of answered my question because I was going with 1 and 2 combined because honestly, some of the new tenants or the new owners, they're not used to the system that we have here, and they're used to the system that they put their stuff out because there's also a day there in the GTA or wherever where they do pick up bulk items. So it would be good to educate them first because not all of them know. So I will be happy to support 1 and 2 together. Thank you.
Jim and Martin.
So just for quick clarification, the letter will have that there is the $150 fine. Okay.
Yeah, we can speak about that internally, but for sure have that information clear with the communication that next step would be fine. Yeah.
Okay, Martin.
I tend to agree with 1 and 2, but Hannah, is that 14 days written in stone? Is that part of the bylaw? Or could you have the 14 days, like the option 1 or 2, 14 days, clean it up. If you haven't done it, it's 150. And then you say, if it's not cleaned up in 70 days, we're coming in, taking it, and you're going to get charged for the fee of picking up. Is that 14 days written in stone? That'd give 1 and 2 a bit more teeth.
Hannah?
Yes, I can clarify that. So the 14 days with the property standards bylaw is to give the person getting an order to appeal it. So if they want to appeal the order that they receive, then that is what the 14 days is for them to submit an appeal to the township.
Or clean it up.
Correct.
Okay. And is there just, offside, I think we need a mover and seconder to put, to move this forward any further. We do know, or we see out there, that there are several private enterprises that are offering bulk pickup, and they take it to the transfer station, and imagine it's a lot less than $150 fine or the cost of removal. Is there, I think this comes back to, again, for those who don't own the house, for tenants, they're not getting the information from the landlords that go out in the tax roll or perhaps a water bill or however, they're just not getting the education or maybe even the waste pickup schedule. And I'm not sure how best to do that, but at some point down the road, is it something that we might want to explore whereby we RFP to have these local service providers offer their services and it could be included? And here are several local establishments that will pick it up. It's up to you to choose or not choose, but I'm just out there for future. Jason.
I get what you're saying there, but every time we have to have staff work on something like that, it's money.
Mhm.
And then these same people at budget time will be saying my taxes are too high. I get what you're saying. You can only educate people so much. You're not supposed to speed. If you get caught speeding, you get fined. You're not supposed to put your couch out on the lawn. So I don't know. I'd like to see them fined right away. I get what you're saying, but it's not.
Yeah.
Every time staff does something, it costs us money, and
yeah,
we have to recoup that.
and it's more about education.
Yeah.
Which is unfortunate because the people who are moving into the new developments, this is not something that is generally out in rural, although we do see couches in the ditches. I don't think that they are from neighbors living in Southgate, but education where they come from a community where this service is provided, and they just assume when they move to a new community that all the services are the same. It's like we don't have walk-in medical clinics. It's different. So it's how do we educate better? I mean, other than directing them to the website where they can find this information, I think is if you're going to put a notice on their door, I'm sure a little line in that notice won't take any more time if it's a form letter. That's what I'm suggesting. Okay, so we have a motion. Lindsay, do you want to read it again?
Yeah, so it would be an amendment to the motion. So be it resolved that council amend the second clause of the motion to direct staff to proceed with a combination of options 1 and 2 as outlined in the report. And that council add a third clause that states that council directs staff to make the necessary amendments to the property standards bylaw and bring back to council for consideration at a future meeting.
So this is an amendment. Can I have a mover and seconder for the amendment? Joan and Martin? Any further discussion? Call the question on the amendment. All in favor? Opposed? That's carried. Now the motion as amended. Then Martin and Joan moved the original motion. Any further discussion? All in favor? Opposed, if any? That is carried. All right. Thank you. Good discussion. I think we'll take a recess now until, let's say, 2:25 or so. Awesome. Welcome back. We will now proceed to 9.3.1 FIN 2025-24, the drainage loan. Be it resolved that staff report FIN 2524 be received for information and that council consider approval of bylaw 2025-077 with no objection to an application for a tile drainage loan for James Lewis for the property municipally known as 143771 Southgate Road, 14, Holstein, in the amount of $13,300, subject to the availability of funds. And I will get a mover and seconder. Jason and Jim. Kayla.
Yes, thank you. So this is another tile drainage loan that would come into effect July 1st, 2025, if it was approved.
Okay. Are there any questions? Martin.
Kayla, I was just reading it and something popped up. It's issued by OMAFRA and you and your staff will administer the loan. And then it says at the end, I don't recall seeing this any other time, a penalty may be charged on any late payments. Does that come to the township because we're doing the work, or does that late payment get to the province? Because it sounds like you're doing the bulk of the.
Yes, through the chair. So it was that we can do a penalty to the homeowners if they don't pay the township in a timely manner. We would be paying OMAFRA in the timely manner. So we're paying OMAFRA. The homeowners are paying us. The landowners are paying us.
Okay. Any other questions? I'll call the question. All in favor? That is carried. Thank you, Kayla. Legislative Services 9.4.1 CL 2025-020 Junction Family Restaurant Temporary Patio Extension Approval. Be it resolved that staff report 2025 CL 2025-020 be received for information and that council approve a temporary patio extension for the Junction Family Restaurant located at 54 Proton Street North, Dundalk, Ontario, for a community event being held on Proton Street North on Saturday, June 21st, from 10 till 4 p.m., 10 a.m. till 4 p.m. Could I get a mover and seconder for that, please? Jim and Jason. Questions? Lindsay.
Thank you, through you, Deputy Mayor. This is pretty standard. The Junction wants to be able to extend their patio. This would be in front of the restaurant on Proton Street for the Fireman's Frolic happening this Saturday. And yes, friendly amendment, I put Saturday, June 20th, and it is actually the 21st. So they require this for approval.
And it's just for the Saturday, not for the Friday night.
Correct.
Right.
Yeah.
Any other questions? I'll call the question. All in favor? That is carried. 9.5.1 Chief Administrative Officer CAO 2025-018 Amendments to the Resource Recovery and Circular Economy Act and the Blue Box Regulation. Be it resolved that we receive this report and that we direct staff to submit comments to attachment 1 to the province. Could I get a mover and seconder, please? Jim and Joan. Jim.
Well, as bills keep flying around for comment, the Ministry of Environment and Conservation and Parks has put out a comment request regarding the Resource Recovery and Circular Act or Economy Act, and as well as the Blue Box Regulation. Again, I guess they've been listening a little bit more to communities concerned with Blue Box transition, as well as they seem to be still leading towards the producers on working and favoring them, in my opinion, a little bit in this regard. But anyhow, there are some good positives out of what they're looking at anyways, and gathering more information so they can provide a better program, maybe, in fairness. Again, going back to eligible and ineligible collections, there certainly don't sound like they want to pay for ineligible downtown per se small business collection, but it sounds like they may support a co-collection of the materials. So there has been, through discussions, some headway that maybe eligible in a split truck like ours, eligibles and ineligibles could be collected and separated for tipping. Again, but at a cost, any ineligibles at a cost to the municipality. They want to change the target dates for and extend it out another 5 years to give them opportunity. There's a lot of materials out there, so deferring targets to me is not managing, that material's going into landfills as opposed to meeting targets that are set previously for them to keep providing recycling to be out of landfills. So again, some of these maybe don't apply so much to our community, such as availability for these services in unorganized territories and some other things with bilingual French language offering for materials. So I think in the report it outlines that, we support some of these concerns and issues and maybe improvement in them. Again, they want to take the schools out of it. Again, bigger schools in the boards have some programs set up that we aren't involved with collecting their materials, but this could affect the classification of a rural Mennonite type school that we have, 8 or 10 or whatever that number is up there. So it could impact them as well for collections. We did a comment list through kind of what the suggestions were here. Again, it totally makes sense not to have all these trucks running around the roads and producing more greenhouse gas emissions. So, hopefully we can find a balance in working with pros and being able to do options that make sense. Because some of this doesn't really make sense in how they've wrote this regulation. So I'd leave it up to questions from council or any other comments they would like to put into this and provide. And we have also been working with our Municipal Waste Association as well as their comments are being submitted similar. They're all kind of somewhat similar in design. So,
Thank you, Jim. Any questions from council? Martin.
More of a comment, really. Looking at the comments you'd like to send in, mostly agree with them. They have dropped the ball a bit. We've just mentioned 20 years of the township because of that collection, and with the use of the compactor, don't we have another 25 years out of the landfill because we've actually managed our waste? This seems to be taking a lot of that out if it all goes back in. It's maybe an aside, but it's all about recycling. There was a story about all the alcohol bottle returns going back to the smaller shops. They figure there's going to be a total reduction in the recycling of those because they're going to end up in the landfill. And it's just, they're muddying the waters. So I liked what you said about the 5 years. Why? In 5 years, there's going to be so much going in. And the best efforts, number 10, best efforts are not sufficient to drive diversion until 2031. And it should be amended to get all registered processors and not to the landfill. This is all about keeping stuff out of the landfill. So I agree with everything that's there and it should be sent off. And I guess the producers had a good lobbying effort for the government, I guess.
Jim Ellis.
Just a comment on Martin brought up, or Councillor Shipton brought up about alcohol containers, and those in the recycling stream are considered contamination. They do not pull them for, they should be going back in the programs that they were designed for. And if you want to really think about it, those programs for beer bottles and alcohol containers, they were the first start of recycling decades ago. So, yeah, they are not part of the recycling stream, those type of containers.
Well, I thank you for that because I thought they were cleaned up and all that kind of stuff. So
And drawing on my historical career, it was the brewing companies that started that circular economy for returning of those beer bottles. And so through the beer store, they were the first true full producer responsibility, really, where you had a deposit and you get a deposit back. And I didn't realize that it's considered contamination. Figured glass was glass and aluminum was aluminum. Joan, did you have your hand up?
Not really, but I was just saying yes to what you said. And for me, like all of the beer cans and wine bottles, etc., I always take them back to the beer store. Didn't know that it was contamination.
Mm-hmm. Great. So I have one question. Having a recycle program in the schools is where education starts, and that's how we educate them into adults and being responsible waste diversion citizens. If this were to go through where they reconsider the dual pickup, would that change our decision down the road about being a subcontractor?
Actually, last week we had a meeting with Waste Management regarding, what they understand council's direction. When we wrote that report, there's been a whole lot of changes. It flipped 360 from talking with them again. We will be bringing a report to council about their other considerations now, but the other side of that also is we have to negotiate our carts to them because they will take over the inventory and compensate what the newer carts that are out. Obviously, the ones that are 20 years old or whatever, they've been considered depreciated and no value basically, but they're still out there. But anyhow, so there was a bit of a revolving door with them in their discussions. So they were supposed to send us some more information. We haven't received it yet, but anyways, it's a possibility. There will be another discussion with council with some of these things that all of a sudden miraculously have changed a different tune.
Well, thank you for that. We will stay tuned. So seeing no more questions, I'll call the question. There is no changes. We're satisfied with your comments. All in favor? That is carried. Thank you, Jim. I'm going to relinquish the chair to move a notice of motion that is on the agenda to Jason Rice.
Okay, thank you. We got 10.1. That's we have a notice of motion from Deputy Mayor DeBreen regarding Bill 5, Protecting Ontario by Unleashing Our Economy Act. You just want to speak to it then?
Yeah, and it is on the screen for those watching. It is lengthy, but it's mostly a copy from the original resolution. So I would like to move my motion, put it on the floor. I need a seconder though.
Okay, we have a seconder and Joan will second it. Barb moved it.
Thank you. May I speak with it?
Yep, discussion.
So this is, we're going to receive more of these from communities. This is part of our communication package. And I wanted to include it, but also to combine it with another resolution that spoke to the Indigenous side of things as well. So in our circulation, basically it's the same resolution, shortened it up a little bit, but I added that it be circulated to all Ontario municipalities and the Indigenous representatives for our specific area. So that's that is what I move. Thank you.
So we'll just, do we have comments or vote, or we have a vote on it, or no, we don't have to? No, I guess not. Sorry.
We do. We'll just, if there's any comments
Oh.
from anybody first.
Any comments from anyone on the proposed motion? Martin?
Well, I was involved with some online video, and there's a lot of stuff in Bill 5 that's it's just the tip of the iceberg. So I think anything we can do to tell the government that you know, this isn't exactly going to work, I think it's a good idea, and hopefully they can tweak it. I can't see them rescinding it, but hopefully they'll have a little bit more listen and have a little bit more oversight. So I am more than willing to vote in favor of doing this and the addition of the Indigenous people, because they are really fighting back about it, and rightly so.
Okay, thanks. Joan, you got a question?
Not a question, just a comment. I do support it. I support the motion. As Councillor Shipson said, I'm not too sure they're going to rescind it, but at least they will see that we are talking about it and we don't agree with everything that's there, and we'll continue to do more motions. Thank you.
Barb, go ahead.
I think it also speaks to what Ken Mallinson had said earlier, Bill 5, Bill 17, all of these bills, even though it has reached royal assent, there's still the devil is in the details and how they will roll out some of those, how they'll implement those changes. Is that correct, Ken? So there may still be opportunity to influence. Thank you.
Anybody else have any questions or comments? If not, I guess we'll call the question. All those in favor? That passed. Turn it back over to you.
Thank you. Oh, here you go. I'll let you do it at the end. How's that here we go. We'll share it. So thank you very much. Let's move on to the consent agenda. Be it resolved that council receive the consent agenda dated June 18th, 2025, save and accept any items for information. Is there a requirement to pull any of those items? Seeing none, could I get a mover and seconder to approve the consent agenda as presented? Jim and Joan? Any discussion? Oh, we didn't pull anything, so all in favor? That is carried. General announcements. Joan, go ahead.
Thank you. I can't get used to this new name. So the the launch of the Northern Terminus, the African Canadian History Journal, Volume 20, was held at the Grey Roots Museum on June 14. The editorial board of this journal is the hard work and dedication of Karen Noble, Dr. Naomi Norquay, and Peter Mailer. I represented the Township of Southgate at the launch and presented a certificate of appreciation on behalf of the mayor and members of council. In acceptance, Dr. Norquay congratulated the Township of Southgate for being the first and only level of government that has stepped forward and recognized their work. So kudos to the Township of Southgate. That was really great. That's it.
Awesome. Thank you for representing us and for the thought of delivering those certificates. Any other general announcements? We have the Firefighters Frolic movie night and baseball game Friday night, and the frolic all day on Saturday. Hopefully people can get out. I did want to add here that the township is celebrating its 25th anniversary with some promotional items that you can order. The link is on the website and on Facebook. You can order hats, t-shirts, and hoodies it's a green, it'll have a Southgate 25th anniversary logo, time limited, and they are the proceeds are going to the food bank and the Holstein Hamper program. So hopefully everyone will support our 25th anniversary by ordering these great hoodies and t-shirts and hats, and we will be able to support our food banks at the same time. All right, bylaws. Be it resolved that the following bylaws dated June 18th, save and accept any items, be read a first, second, and third time, finally passed, signed by the deputy mayor and the clerk, sealed with the seal of the corporation, and entered into the bylaw book. We can move all of these all together unless somebody wants to separate and vote on them separately. I see no need to separate them, so I need a mover and seconder to Jason and Jim. Are there any questions with regard to any of the bylaws? All in favor? Those are carried. We do have a closed meeting. Be it resolved that council proceed into closed session at 2:47 p.m. in order to address two matters related to litigation or potential litigation, including matters before administrative tribunals affecting the municipality or local board subject to litigation updates, a proposed or pending acquisition or disposition of land by the municipality or local board subject acquisition of land update, and that all those required remain in attendance. Could I get a mover and seconder? Martin and Joan? All in favor? That is carried. All right, we are back from closed session and I can declare that we only discussed the matters for which we disclosed for going into closed session and staff were given direction. We have a confirming bylaw, be it resolved that bylaw, do I need to, I guess I need to read all of that. Do I? We came out of closed at 4:03. We're good? We came back at, what was it, 4:03? Be it resolved that council proceed out of closed session at 4:03 PM. 14.1. I don't have to read that? Great. Thank you. I already made the declaration and confirming bylaw. Be it resolved that bylaw 2025-078 being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of the Council of the Corporation of the Township of Southgate at its regular meeting held on June 18th, 2025, be read a first, second, and third time, finally passed, signed by the mayor, deputy mayor, and the clerk, sealed with the seal of the corporation, and entered into the bylaw book. Mover and seconder, Jason and Jim. All in favor? That is carried. And we have one more motion to adjourn at 4:05 PM. Who shall move that? Joan and Jason? All in favor? That is carried. Jason, would you like to do the honors? Go ahead. Here you go.